There's a dangerous phase in property investing that almost no one talks about. It's not saving for your first deposit or even buying your first property. In fact, it happens after you've officially become an investor, and it leaves thousands feeling trapped, stressed, and financially drained every single year. After 12 years of working closely with investors, we've seen firsthand how easy it is to slip into this stage without even realizing it. If you don't know what to look for, you could end up stuck here indefinitely, with mounting costs, increasing stress, and very little to show for all your hard work. So in this video, I'll show you what this hidden danger zone is, why so many investors unknowingly fall into it, and the exact steps you need to take to escape quickly. So what is this dangerous trap investors keep falling into? It's simple, but almost no one realizes it. It's owning just one investment property. Now, that might sound strange at first. Surely one property is better than none. But here's the problem. A few weeks back, I got an email from someone who dreamed of becoming a property investor for years. After countless evenings scrolling Rightmove and property forums, he'd finally done it. He'd bought his very first investment property. He was officially a landlord, with an extra £200 coming in each month after all expenses. But even though the extra £2,400 a year was welcome, it wasn't particularly life-changing. And this investor still felt absolutely miles away from buying property number 2. So rather than feeling successful, he felt deflated. Every time the phone rang, his heart sank. What now? Was it a broken boiler, a leaky roof, or maybe the tenant was giving notice? Instead of financial freedom, he felt financially fragile. And instead of feeling proud of his investment, he felt constant stress. And once that initial buzz wore off, he started to wonder if he'd made a mistake. Because here's the uncomfortable truth that most new investors aren't prepared for. The riskiest, most stressful stage of property investing isn't securing the funds for your first property. It's actually the moment immediately after you become an investor, when you own just one property. Because at this stage, you're taking on all the risks of being a landlord without reaping most of the rewards. If your tenant moves out and you face a 2-month void, that money comes directly from your personal savings. If the boiler breaks down or the roof leaks, it could wipe out an entire year of profit instantly. Every single cost hits you hard because there's no portfolio to spread the burden. And it's not just financial stress, it's emotional too. When you have only one property, every little issue feels overwhelming. You haven't yet built the experience or resilience that comes naturally with scale. You're still figuring out how to manage tenants, handle maintenance, and stay on top of regulations. Every challenge feels exhausting because you're learning everything from scratch. And if you set up a limited company, you might have made the right decision long term, but right now you've added extra complexity, extra paperwork, and extra costs without yet having the portfolio size to justify it. So all in all, you have all the hassle, but almost none of the benefits. This stage feels deceptively like progress, but really it's a trap. And it's dangerous because it's so easy to get stuck here. You're under constant pressure, but achieving very little. That's why you mustn't get too comfortable as a single property investor. Instead, keep your foot on the accelerator and push aggressively towards property number 2, because the longer you leave it, the more risk and stress you'll take on, and the harder it can be to escape. Now, what I'm about to say might sound frustrating, but knowing what I know today, I'd only recommend investing in your first property if you can already see a clear path to your second. Not immediately, but ideally within a few years of making that initial investment. So how do you actually do it? How do you get your second property sooner rather than later? Well, the first thing you need to do involves a lot of discipline and self-control, because I know how exciting it is to get your hands on your first investment property, especially if it's a goal you've been working towards for years. It's only natural to see that extra, say, £200 a month profit hit your account each month and think, great, well, I can save £200 less now and still go at the same pace. You might start treating yourself a bit more, upgrading your car, booking nicer holidays, letting your lifestyle creep up in little ways that don't feel like much individually, but quickly eat into your ability to save. This is most likely to happen if you see that first buy-to-let property as the finish line, when in reality, it's only the starting line. So this is the most critical time to stay disciplined, because every pound that you spend elsewhere is a pound that isn't going into your next deposit. And every month you let your savings slow down is another month that you're stuck in the one property trap. What you need is momentum. And momentum means being absolutely ruthless about channeling every spare pound back into savings. Keep living like you're still saving for property number 1 until you own property number 2. Because the faster you move through the stage, the sooner you get the real benefits of being a property investor. And while you're funneling every spare pound into your next deposit, the last thing you need is a surprise repair bill or a regulatory fine because something slipped through the cracks. That's why we've created a lettings and management checklist. We use this internally to help clients keep costs down and protect cash flow, especially during that critical one property stage. You can download it for free using the link below. Next, let me tell you about an investor we'll call Mike, who finally bought a buy-to-let property after years of back and forth. Mike was convinced it would be at least 2 years before he could afford property number 2. But because he kept in contact with the local network he'd built while buying number 1, he learned about a seller who was willing to part with a property for well below market value. It was the type of rare opportunity that wouldn't be around for long. But Mike wasn't ready to invest. He didn't have a deposit and he'd struggled to get another mortgage alone. But when he sat down with a family member and discussed the possibility of working together, he was able to make it happen. He secured the property even though technically he hadn't planned to buy for another year or two. That deal wouldn't have been possible if he'd completely switched off after purchase number 1. If it wasn't for the connections he'd made, he'd never have heard about the opportunity in the first place. And this is exactly what trips so many new investors up. They buy the first property, breathe a sigh of relief, and tell themselves they're done for now. They assume they won't be able to buy for ages, so they switch off and keep their distance. But the truth is, you're now better able to find good deals than you were before. Because now you've got the practical experience, you see the market differently. You know what to look for, you know what questions to ask. And you survived the process once, so the whole thing hopefully feels less nerve-wracking than before. So try not to disengage just yet, even if you're not quite ready to buy property number 2. Keep on checking Rightmove and Zoopla every week. Keep on chatting to agents and keep on networking. Because the best deals don't just pop up as soon as you're ready. You need to put in the groundwork well in advance. And by getting into the practice of analysing deals and keeping up with what's going on in the market, you'll be in a much stronger position to act when you are ready to buy again. And if you want to stay one step ahead, we've got a free weekly email that gives you all the property updates, expert insights, and latest opportunities you need. You can sign up below. It's quick, it's free, and it will keep you sharp while you hunt for deal number 2. This next mistake is something I've seen happen countless times. You might buy your first investment property and then just put your feet up and drift. Now, I'm not telling you to step away from the champagne or spend every weekend working. Making that first investment is a huge achievement and definitely worth celebrating. But the last thing you need is to lose the intense focus that helped you save for your first deposit. Because you might tell yourself that you need time to recover financially and build up your savings before you can start looking at properties again. But because the urgency is gone and you don't feel the same pressure as before, you might not set any real goals or deadlines. And if you're busy with your job or business and family commitments, before you know it, months can turn into years without any real progress. Because here's the uncomfortable truth most people don't want to admit. Feeling ready doesn't build a property portfolio. Setting a timeline does. There will always be reasons to wait. There will always be something that makes you hesitate or feel like now isn't the perfect moment. But the market won't pause for you. Prices won't stay frozen while you get organised, and opportunities won't sit there waiting until you're ready to act. If you want to make sure you're actually ready to buy that second property, set a deadline. Write it down and work backwards from there to figure out how much you need to save, what steps you need to take, and when you're going to take them. Because without a concrete plan and a real timeline, it's far too easy to drift indefinitely in that one property limbo. So if you're stuck on one property right now, don't beat yourself up. You've done the hardest part that most people will never do, and that's just getting started. But now it's time to build momentum, avoid the common traps, and actually move forward. And if you're wondering how to do that, that's exactly what we cover in this next video. It's a step-by-step breakdown of what's working right now and how to start strong. So go watch that next.